The silence before the storm. The message arrived at Terra Defense Station Alpha like a death sentence written in starlight. Commander Sarah Volkov stood before the massive observation deck, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the holographic projection materialize. The alien script translated itself into every human language simultaneously, a feat of technology that would have amazed humanity just 50 years ago. Now it only served to highlight how far behind they truly were. Citizens of Earth and its colonies, the message began, delivered in a voice that seemed to resonate from within their bones rather than through their ears. You have been selected for integration into the eternal hegemony. Your species shows promise, though primitive. Surrender within one solar rotation, and you will be granted the privilege of serving the greater unity. Resistance will result in complete planetary sterilization. This is not a negotiation. Sarah turned to face her bridge crew, a collection of Earth's finest minds from every corner of their small blue world. Lieutenant Zhang Wei, her tactical officer, had already begun running combat simulations. His fingers moved across holographic displays with the grace of a concert pianist, even though every scenario ended the same way. Total annihilation. How many worlds have fallen to them? Asked Dr. Amara Okonkwo, the station's chief scientist, though she already knew the answer. 517, Zhang replied without looking up from his calculations. Every single one surrendered or was destroyed. The hegemony doesn't just conquer. They absorb entire civilizations into their collective consciousness. Those who submit become extensions of their will. Those who resist. He let the silence finish his sentence. Sarah studied the tactical data flooding her screens. The hegemony fleet consisted of 12,000 vessels, each one the size of a small moon. Their technology operated on principles that human science could barely comprehend. Weapons that could unravel matter at the quantum level. Shields that existed partially outside normal space-time. Faster-than-light communication that seemed to violate causality itself. Earth's combined fleet numbered 347 ships. Children's toys compared to what approached them. "Commander, there's something else," Dr. Okonkwo interrupted Sarah's grim calculations. The scientist's usually calm demeanor had cracked, revealing something Sarah had never seen in her eyes before. Hope. Project Mindbridge. "It's ready." The room fell silent. Project Mindbridge had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a desperate attempt to level the playing field through unconventional means. While other species focused on bigger weapons and stronger shields, humanity had done what it did best. "They got creative. Are you certain?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We've run 1,000 simulations. It won't win us the war, but it might give us something the hegemony has never encountered before. A fighting chance." Sarah moved to the main communication console. "Open a channel to all Earth forces and colonies. Maximum encryption." She waited for the confirmation light before continuing. "This is Commander Volkov. By now you've all received the hegemony's ultimatum. They expect us to kneel like every civilization before us. They expect fear to make our choice for us." She paused, letting her words sink in across the vast distances of space. "They're right about the fear. I'm terrified. We all are. But here's what they don't understand about humanity. We've been afraid before. We were afraid when we first looked at the ocean and wondered what lay beyond. We were afraid when we pointed rockets at the stars. We were afraid when we took our first steps on Mars. Fear has never stopped us. It's only ever shown us which direction to go. Across the solar system, humanity listened. On Mars, colonists stopped their work in the hydroponics bays. In the asteroid belt, miners paused their extraction equipment. On Europa, scientists emerged from their underwater habitats to gather around communication screens. The hegemony offers us survival through servitude. I propose we offer them something different. We show them what happens when you corner a species that spent its entire evolution fighting against extinction. We show them that some things are worth dying for. Freedom, choice, the right to fail and try again. These aren't just words to us. They're who we are." She looked at her crew, seeing the same determination reflected in faces of every color and creed humanity had to offer. "All ships implement Protocol 7. Activate Project Mindbridge. If we're going down, we're taking their perfect record with us." The next hours passed in a blur of preparation. Ships that had never been designed for combat were retrofitted with mining charges and navigation beacons. Civilian vessels volunteered to join the fleet, their captains refusing to stand idle while Earth faced annihilation. The space station's corridors hummed with activity as engineers worked to boost communication arrays, and scientists made final adjustments to the mind bridge devices. As the deadline approached, a new transmission arrived. This time it came with video. The bridge's main screen filled with the image of Admiral Krextor of the Eternal Hegemony. The alien's form defied easy description, a constantly shifting amalgamation of crystalline structures and flowing energy, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Humans of Earth, Krextor's voice resonated through the station. Your time grows short. We have monitored your preparations. Your small fleet amuses us. In 500 cycles of conquest, no species has chosen extinction over unity. Why do you persist in this futile defiance? Sarah stepped forward, activating her own video feed. With respect, Admiral, you're asking the wrong question. The question isn't why we resist, it's why everyone else didn't. The alien's form pulsed with what might have been curiosity. Elaborate. You offer unity, but unity without choice isn't unity at all. It's erasure. You've conquered 500 worlds not because you're strong, but because you've never faced a species that values chaos over order, freedom over safety, the right to be wrong over the certainty of being controlled. These concepts are inefficient, Krextor replied. They lead to conflict, suffering, waste. The hegemony eliminates such primitive concerns. Maybe, Sarah conceded, but they also lead to art, music, love, innovation, and the wild, impossible dream that tomorrow could be different from today. You've built a perfect machine, Admiral. We're about to show you what happens when you throw a wrench named humanity into it. The transmission ended, and Sarah turned to her crew. Status report. All ships in position, Zhang announced. Mindbridge network is synchronized and ready for activation. Civilian evacuation ships are clear of the combat zone, reported Communications Officer James McLeod. Though most refuse to leave, Commander. They want to stand with us, Sarah nodded, unsurprised. It was the most human response imaginable. Face impossible odds, and instead of running, ordinary people chose to stand and fight with whatever they had. Cargo haulers armed with mining explosives. Research vessels converted into ramming ships. Even a cruise liner had volunteered to serve as a medical frigate. Commander, Dr. Okonkwo called out. I'm detecting something unusual. The hegemony fleet isn't moving into standard attack formation. They're hesitating. Sarah studied the tactical display. The alien fleet, which had approached with the inevitability of a tsunami, had indeed slowed. Their formation, usually perfect geometric precision, showed slight variations, gaps that shouldn't exist. Ships slightly out of position. They're confused, she realized. For the first time in 500 conquests, someone isn't following their script. The observation deck's blast shields retracted, revealing the vast expanse of space. In the distance, the hegemony fleet blotted out the stars, a shadow falling across humanity's home. But between them and Earth stood humanity's defenders. 347 military ships, 900 civilian vessels, space stations repurposed as weapon platforms. Even ancient satellites reactivated for one last mission. It was absurd, laughable, impossible. It was perfectly human. All stations, this is Commander Volkov. The hegemony is about to learn something about humanity. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because some things are worth losing for. Today we show the galaxy that conquest isn't inevitable, that unity through force isn't unity at all, that sometimes the smallest voice saying no can echo across the universe. She took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation console for Project Mindbridge. Remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to save them from themselves, from the tyranny of perfection, from a universe where choice has been replaced by certainty. The countdown timer reached 0. Humanity's deadline had arrived. All ships, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying the weight of their species' future. Engage! When giants fall, the first volleys of the battle would be remembered not for their devastation, but for their absurdity. Humanity's weapons, projectiles, and lasers that the hegemony's shields dismissed like rain against umbrella, served only to announce their refusal to surrender. The alien fleet's response should have been swift and decisive. 1,000 ships firing in perfect synchronization, reducing Earth's defenders to component atoms in seconds. Instead, something unprecedented happened. The hegemony hesitated. Admiral Krextor, from the command nexus of the flagship Eternal Purpose, found himself experiencing something his species had eliminated eons ago. Uncertainty. The humans weren't following any tactical doctrine in the hegemony's vast databases. Their ships moved in patterns that seemed random but weren't. Chaos that somehow had purpose. Admiral, his tactical consciousness reported, 1,000 minds speaking as one. The human fleet is implementing no known battle strategy. Their movements are illogical. Sarah Volkov smiled grimly from her command station as she watched the alien fleet struggle to respond. Zhang, implement scatter protocol. Let's show them what organized chaos looks like. The human fleet exploded into motion. Military vessels mixed with civilian ships in formations that changed every few seconds. A cargo hauler would suddenly accelerate toward an enemy vessel, only to veer off at the last moment while a fighter squadron used its wake as cover. Mining ships released clouds of metallic chaff that confused sensors, while passenger liners broadcast every frequency with human music, poetry, and languages. It's working, Dr. Okonkwo reported. Their targeting systems can't lock on. They're designed to fight organized resistance, not this. This was humanity at its most creatively destructive, a species that had turned killing each other into an art form for millennia, now unified in their magnificent stupidity against an impossibly superior foe. Activate Project Mindbridge, Sarah ordered. All nodes full transmission. Across the human fleet, strange devices powered up. Not weapons in any traditional sense, but something far more insidious. Project Mindbridge was humanity's answer to the hegemony's collective consciousness. But where the aliens had achieved unity through domination and control, humanity had created something different, a network that shared not thoughts but emotions, not commands but experiences, not order but the beautiful chaos of human existence. The first wave hit the hegemony fleet like a psychic tsunami. Suddenly, minds that had known only unity for millennia were flooded with the entire spectrum of human experience. A child's laughter on a summer day, the grief of losing a loved one, the triumph of solving an impossible problem, the fear of the unknown, the joy of discovery. Love, hate, hope, despair, boredom, excitement, all crashed into the perfectly ordered hegemony consciousness at once. On the eternal purpose, Admiral Krextor staggered, his crystalline form flickering. For the first time in his existence, he felt, not the collective sensation of the hegemony, but individual, overwhelming, chaotic emotion. What is this? He gasped, though the hegemony had no word for gasping. Around him, his crew writhed in confusion. Some laughed, though they didn't understand why. Others felt tears they couldn't shed. The perfect unity of the hegemony cracked like ice in spring. Sarah watched the alien fleet's formation dissolve into chaos. Ships collided with each other. Weapons fired randomly or not at all. The perfect war machine had encountered something it couldn't process. Individuality. Commander, we're receiving transmissions from multiple hegemony vessels, McLeod reported, his voice filled with awe. They're asking questions. Real questions, not demands. Put them through. The main screen filled with fragmented images from dozens of alien ships. Hegemony drones, their perfect unity shattered, spoke in confused individual voices. Why does the sunrise make us feel? What is this sensation when we think of home? Is this what you call beauty? Help us understand. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. Project Mindbridge hadn't been designed as a weapon. It had been humanity's desperate attempt to communicate what couldn't be expressed in words, to share what made them human. And against all odds, it was working. But the victory was far from complete. On the eternal purpose, Admiral Krextor fought to reassert control. His consciousness, older and stronger than his crew's, began to adapt to the emotional onslaught. Enough, his voice boomed across all frequencies. Hegemony Fleet, activate isolation protocols. Sever all external connections. 2/3 of the alien fleet obeyed, their shields shifting to block the Mindbridge transmissions. But a third continued to drift, their crews lost in the wonder of individual thought. You have corrupted them, Krextor accused, his image appearing on every human screen. You have destroyed perfection with your chaos. No, Sarah replied, stepping forward. We've given them choice. The same choice you're about to take from us. The remaining hegemony ships opened fire. Beams of impossible energy lashed out and human ships began to die. The cruise liner turned medical ship Mercy evaporated in a flash of light. The mining vessel Stubborn Hope was cut in half. Dozens of fighters simply ceased to exist. But humanity had learned something about the hegemony. They were perfect, but perfection was predictable. All ships implement algorithm drunk walk, Sarah commanded. It was the most insane battle plan ever conceived. Each human ship's navigation was turned over to a random number generator, influenced by everything from cosmic radiation to the captain's heart rate. The result was movement so chaotic that even the humans didn't know where they'd be from second to second. The hegemony's perfect targeting solutions became useless. Their weapons, designed to calculate trajectory and position with flawless accuracy, couldn't hit targets that didn't know their own paths. And then, something extraordinary happened. The hegemony ships affected by Mindbridge began to move, not toward Earth but between the attacking fleet and the human defenders. "Admiral," a voice crackled over the communications. It was Captain Zephani of the hegemony cruiser Absolute Order, but her voice had changed. Where once it had been part of a collective harmony, now it carried individual determination. "We will not let you destroy them. They have given us a gift, the gift of choice." "You are malfunctioning," Krextor responded. "Return to formation for recalibration." "No." The words, simple and defiant, had never been spoken by a hegemony drone before. "We choose to say no." The battle transformed. No longer was it humanity against the hegemony, but those who chose unity through force against those who chose unity through diversity. Hegemony ships fired on their own kind. The perfect fleet tore itself apart in a civil war that had been brewing for eons, waiting for anyone to show them another way. Sarah watched in awe as the impossible unfolded. They hadn't defeated the hegemony through superior firepower or technology. They had done something far more powerful. They had introduced doubt into certainty, choice into servitude, individuality into conformity. "Admiral Krextor," she broadcast to the hegemony flagship. "You can end this, join us, not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals. The universe is big enough for both order and chaos, for both unity and independence." The massive flagship hung motionless in space, its weapons powered, but not firing. Around it the battle raged as hegemony fought hegemony, and humanity darted between them like sparks in a thunderstorm. Finally, Krextor responded. His form on the screen had changed. Where once it had been perfectly symmetrical, now it showed variations, imperfections that somehow made it more beautiful. "You have broken something that took eons to build," he said. And for the first time, his voice carried emotion, sadness perhaps, or wonder. "No," Sarah replied gently. "We've shown you that it was already broken. True unity can't be forced. It has to be chosen. Every day, by individuals who decide that together is better than alone, but who never forget that they have the right to walk away. The weapons on the eternal purpose powered down. I need time. To think, to feel, to understand what we've become." Krextor's image flickered. "This sensation, this uncertainty you've infected us with, is this what you call freedom?" "Yes," Sarah said simply. "It's terrifying, isn't it?" "Yes," the Admiral agreed. "And exhilarating." The battle ended not with a bang but with a whisper. Ships stopped firing. The perfect formations of the hegemony dissolved into individual vessels, each choosing their own position. Some approached Earth with curiosity rather than conquest. Others hung back uncertain. Still others jumped to hyperspace, carrying the virus of individuality to the 500 worlds of the hegemony. In the aftermath, as humanity counted their losses and celebrated their impossible victory, Sarah stood on the observation deck watching alien and human ships mingle in the space between Earth and Moon. It wasn't peace exactly. It was something more precious and more fragile. It was the beginning of understanding. Dr. Okonkwo joined her, exhaustion written across her features but a smile playing at her lips. "You realize what we've done, don't you? We've started a revolution that will spread across the galaxy. Every enslaved species, every absorbed civilization, they'll all start remembering what it means to choose." Sarah nodded, her own smile bittersweet. They had lost over 100 ships, thousands of lives. But they had gained something worth the price. The hegemony thought they were bringing order to chaos. Instead, we showed them that chaos and order aren't enemies. They're dance partners. A communication request blinked on her console. It was from Admiral Krextor. "Commander Volkov." The alien's voice had changed completely, uncertainty and wonder replacing absolute authority. This is difficult. We have no framework for what comes next. Your species has shattered our understanding of existence. Will you Help us learn? Sarah looked at her crew, seeing the same answer in all their eyes. That's what humans do, Admiral. We stumble, we fall, we get back up, and we help others do the same. Welcome to the beautiful mess of free will. As Earth's sun rose over the curve of the planet, its light caught the hulls of 1,000 ships, human and hegemony, military and civilian, perfect order and beautiful chaos all sharing the same space. It wasn't the ending anyone had expected when the ultimatum arrived. It was better. It was the beginning of something new, something impossible, something utterly, perfectly human. The galaxy would never be the same.